People say that in the white snow regions of Northern America, sometimes there will be strange children knocking on doors at night. They don't scream, don't beg, just stand still in the cold wind and speak in a soft voice. "Can we come in to borrow the phone for a bit?" They have pale skin, old coats, and deep black eyes without any whites. Those who once invited them into their homes all disappeared after just one night. People call them black-eyed kids, creatures that step out from the border between humans and signals. There's a rumor that they don't come to be invited in, but to find the one who dares to look at them longer than 3 seconds. On the night of January 14th, 1975, the snow fell so thick it almost swallowed every sound. Amid the endless white sea of Montana, the old RV of Michael J. Hartman stopped by the roadside, headlights casting weak beams fading into the frost. The engine still groaned like the last breath of an old beast struggling to stay alive through the night. Inside, the air was heavy with the smell of cold coffee, printer paper, and the faint hum of electricity from the devices. Michael sat before a small desk, the laptop screen reflecting his face. Haggard, stubbled, with dark circles revealing his long lack of sleep. His fingers tapped the keyboard, the clacking sound steady between the silent howls of the wind. He was writing the last article of his life, the fear that spreads through the internet. 20 years as a journalist investigating the supernatural, Michael used to call himself a ghost hunter who doesn't believe in ghosts. He always insisted. If ghosts are real, they must know how to code, because the internet is their world. To him, online legends were nothing but products of collective psychology, copied, edited, and spread through millions of clicks, until people began to believe they were true. "Fear only exists when it is shared," he once wrote, "and the internet is the graveyard of those fears." Outside, the snow grew heavier, lashing against the body of the vehicle like countless fingernails scraping on metal. The headlights flickered a few times, then steadied. The radio on the dashboard crackled, the weak signal distorted by the weather. Michael didn't notice. He was focused on revising the final paragraph, where he planned to end with a line half mocking, half philosophical. If a story is scary enough, it will find a way to survive. Then, the radio changed. The static noise turned into a slow, rhythmic sound, like someone breathing close to the microphone. Michael lifted his head slightly, frowning. He reached to lower the volume, but just as his hand touched the knob, the speaker let out a broken, distorted voice, squeezed through hundreds of layers of interference, let them in. The voice was very quiet, but clear, and it came right beside his left ear, not from the radio speaker. Michael jolted, twisting around in his chair. No one there, only the flickering light from the laptop and the soft tapping of snow on the roof. He turned the radio off immediately. The screen went black, and the cabin fell into absolute silence. Only his heartbeat remained, heavy and fast. A thin layer of fog spread over the windshield, forming faint, circular smudges like handprints. Michael exhaled, trying to calm himself. He muttered, "Must be signal feedback." But even as he tried to reassure himself, the feeling that someone was standing right outside the window, silently watching him, made his spine go numb. He tried to keep writing, but the letters on the screen kept flickering, blurring, as if the laptop itself was suffering from the same interference as the radio. The wind howled fiercely. A sudden draft slipped through the door crack, snuffing out the small candle beside his desk. In that moment of darkness, he heard a faint sound. Not the wind, not the snow, but tap, tap, tap. From outside the door, 3 beats, evenly spaced, softly chilling. Michael lifted his head. The pen in his hand dropped onto the desk, rolled once, and stopped at the edge of the laptop. He didn't dare breathe. Through the fogged glass, two tiny figures stood motionless in the snow. Three knocks echoed, try heavy, like metal striking metal. Knock! 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 The sound reverberated inside the vehicle, making Michael jump. The coffee cup trembled, spilling a warm brown streak over his notebook. He slowly turned his head. Through the frost-covered glass, two small figures stood right outside the door. Under the dim light reflecting off the snowy field, they almost had no color, just two small silhouettes, still as statues. Michael squinted, quickly wiped the glass. The light became clearer. Two children, around 10 years old, one boy, one girl, wearing dark, worn coats. Their hair was drenched, clinging to their foreheads, covered in ice. Their shoes were half buried in the snow, but they didn't shiver, didn't breathe out any visible mist. Both kept their heads down, silent. A long pause. Only the wind whistled through the door crack and the heater wheezed. Michael slightly opened the window. The cold air stung his skin. The boy raised his head. His voice came out, slow, flat, like a playback recording. "Mr. Our car broke down. Can we come in to borrow the phone?" The girl beside him lifted her head too, repeating every word identically. Same tone, same tempo, same pitch, perfectly synchronized. Both moved their heads at the same time, then bowed again. Michael froze. His heart pounded. Cold sweat ran down his back, even though the heater was still on. He had once written about such children, the black-eyed kids, legendary beings said to be the living signal of fear spreading online. He swallowed hard, his hand trembling as he reached for the camera, trying to record. He switched on the headlights. The pale yellow light spread out, cutting through the snow, shining directly on their faces. Michael held his breath. Their skin was as white as cold wax, unnaturally smooth, without pores. Their lips were thin, cracked, like a dry layer of resin. Their faces were expressionless, frozen to an unnatural stiffness, mouths closed, not moving, yet a flat, mechanical voice still came out. "Mr. Our car broke down. Can we come in to borrow the phone?" Each word fell like metal tapping on stone. No breath, no vibration. The girl repeated exactly the same, in the same rhythm, same pitch, making Michael feel as though the sound came from a single throat. A deadly silence. Outside, snowflakes hit the window and melted like cold sweat. Then suddenly, they moved. Both lunged forward at once, so fast Michael only heard a whooshing sound in the air. Their faces pressed against the window, just centimeters away from him. The headlights shone directly onto their skin. The light didn't reflect but seemed absorbed. Their eyes, if they could be called eyes, were just two deep black pits, thick as ink, where tiny threads of dim light swirled slowly like black smoke in water. Their mouths began to stretch, slowly, widening toward their ears. Unnatural. Soundless. Just a grin pulling open millimeter by millimeter until rows of perfect white teeth showed, each one polished smooth. Then came laughter. Not children's laughter, but hundreds of overlapping sounds, distorted like from broken speakers, warped, repeating, cracked. At first faint, then spreading through the whole vehicle, giggling, choking, then screeching like a jammed cassette tape. Michael felt his eardrums vibrate. The laughter wasn't outside. It was inside his head. "You shouldn't have done that." The two voices spoke in perfect unison, so precise it was inhuman, not a half-beat apart, emotionless, just two sound waves merging into one, echoing in mid-air. The window vibrated violently, small cracks spreading like spiderwebs. Outside, snow still fell, but each flake now reflected black instead of white, as if stained by their shadow. Michael backed away, eyes wide, breath rapid. The laughter distorted, high-pitched, warped, mixed with metallic screeching. He screamed, turned toward the driver's seat, and slammed the gas pedal. The RV roared, its tires sliding on the ice, speeding into the thick white blizzard. Headlights reflected on the windshield, where he saw, for a second, two smiling faces in the light. Then they vanished. Inside the vehicle, the radio suddenly turned on. Static at first, then a familiar voice, his own, from an interview a year before. Sometimes, fear doesn't lie in the story, but in the signal that tells it. The sound stretched, distorted, then turned into children's whispering, many voices, small, coming from every corner of the vehicle. "We just want to stay with you." Michael slammed his fist on the radio. It wouldn't turn off. The whispers turned into soft giggles, longed and warped in the static. The laptop screen lit up by itself. The frame shook for a few seconds, then displayed a video. Him, sitting in that same RV. The footage was from behind, from a low angle under the seat. In the frame, Michael was still typing, and behind him stood two small figures, straight, heads slightly tilted, motionless. Michael's mouth dropped open. He turned quickly to look behind his chair. No one. But in the video, they were still there. One slowly tilted its head the other way and smiled. The other lifted its head, staring straight into the camera. The screen glitched violently, the image tearing in half. A shrill screech rang out. Michael screamed, lost control. The RV skidded sideways and slammed into a roadside power pole. A flash of light. Then everything went dark. When they found the vehicle the next morning, it was still running, the door half open, snow piled inside. No sign of Michael. The laptop was still on, recording a video file. In the footage, he woke after the crash, blood dripping from his forehead, face pale. He spoke into the camera, voice trembling. "I don't think they're human. They are signals. A kind of existence, trying to be invited in through the device. Oh." He looked into the rearview mirror, silent for a few seconds, then continued. "If anyone sees this, don't turn on the light. Don't look at the screen too long." The image shook. When it stabilized, the front seat was empty, the door wide open. Two children stood in the snow, their eyes glowing like TV screens with broken signals, staring straight into the lens. A small screening room, soundproof walls, dim blue light. 6 people sat around a long table, editors, technicians, and the archivist. On the wall, the projector started up, cold white light sweeping across the room. On the screen, Michael's video began playing. They watched him in the RV, the tension in the room taut as a string. Every gust of wind from the speakers made them flinch. At minute 23, the sound knock, knock, knock echoed. A technician gave a nervous laugh. Sounds like real knocking. As soon as he finished speaking, 3 more knocks sounded, this time not from the speakers, but from the door of the screening room. Everyone turned. The door was tightly closed. The knocks came again, clearer, closer. On the screen, the image suddenly jolted. 2 bright spots appeared behind Michael, then formed into 2 small silhouettes. They tilted their heads, slowly turning toward the camera. Someone in the room whispered, "No way." The 2 children started moving, slowly, but the image zoomed in though no one touched the controls. One person stood up to turn off the projector, but the mouse didn't respond. The lights flickered rapidly. The sound of electric buzzing filled the room, and on the screen, the 2 faces pressed against the lens, grins stretching until the skin around their mouths cracked. The air grew thick. Everyone heard children's whispers echoing inside their heads, source unknown. "We just want to stay with you." A technician screamed and yanked the projector plug, but the screen didn't turn off. The white light still shone, now reflecting 2 small dark shapes standing right in the middle of the room. The ceiling lights flickered. When they turned back, only 2 empty chairs were left, gently rocking, as if someone had just stood up. In the archive room, no recording from that screening remained. All the camera data was blank, except for a distorted audio clip repeating a single whisper. "Don't look at the screen. Don't let them see you." Since then, the screening room was sealed off. But people say that at night, when passing by, they still hear 3 soft knocks on the wall, steady as a heartbeat. Knock, 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 knock. From then on, the room where Michael's video had been shown was sealed. No one dared open that file again, but according to those who once worked at the newspaper, every night on January 14th, the day he disappeared, they hear 3 faint knocks from behind a metal door. Knock, knock. As if someone inside is patiently waiting to be invited in. Some say, if you watch that video, even just for a few seconds, the image will imprint on your mirror when the light is off. 2 faint smudges like small hands will appear in the corner of the glass, and when you bend down to wash your face, you'll hear a soft whisper right behind you. "We just want to stay with you." Some who heard those knocks on a cold night tried replying or curiously looked out the window. No one knows what happened to them afterward, only that the next morning, their radio turned on by itself, playing static and a muffled voice repeating, "Don't let them in." So, if one night you're working late, snow falling outside, the radio suddenly hissing, and you hear 3 dry knocks, remember this well. Don't look outside. Don't speak. And above all, don't open the door.